Well, hello. This is the Green Corn Rebellion show. I'm Gregory Harden II, and I'm here with Jen Jeanette. She is the vocalist for the band Mimesis and is a model and photographer. So,
Hello.
hey. Um, so first question I have is where are you from and where did you grow up at?
Yep. So right now I'm Boston based. But in terms of the music scene, I grew up kind of in like the Providence, Rhode Island music scene.
Hmm.
And I was born in Providence, so I kind of ended up splitting my time between Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Um, and yeah, I've lived here for pretty much my whole life. I've done a lot of traveling, but in terms of living, I've just lived here basically.
All right, cool. So you've done a lot of things. You're very accomplished. What made you want to go into modeling?
Yeah, so that was something that I never thought I could do or never really considered doing. Um, One of my friends from high school was signed to an agency, and that's how I got into it. I ended up being signed to the same agency for a while. Now I freelance because it's just easier with my schedule, and then I have like full control over all the jobs that I do and stuff. Whereas when you're with an agency, you don't always really have control over everything. You don't set your prices. The agency obviously does take a cut of the money. So
Hmm.
I really wanted to freelance after that. But when I was in school, I was actually very very awkward. I had like no fashion sense or anything. I was extremely shy, very very quiet. So I never really thought about doing anything like that. I've been doing music forever, but doing modeling was just very, very out of my comfort zone. So part of me wanting to do it was more to kind of just prove to myself that I could. Um, and then I did, and then I ended up really liking it. And I ended up realizing that it would really help my music career also. Um, Even just having like photos of yourself, like having photo content to put on your social media and things like that, it's just really helpful, like for marketing and stuff. So
Hmm.
um, it ended up helping me a lot. So I'm really glad that I made that decision. And then I even ended up like working with photographers through that and then having them want to work with my band after for free and stuff. So um, it was definitely a good choice. And I've noticed there's a lot of um, musicians, particularly like female vocalists right now, who they don't really broadcast it, but they actually started out in modeling years ago before they started their band too. So I'm
Hmm.
noticing that that's actually really common now as well. But yeah, I just did it because I would never really thought I could, so I wanted to try it.
That's cool. Um, your website says that you've had poetry and short study or short stories published before. What influences your writing, and what's it like getting published?
Yeah, that was actually a really long time ago. So that was a book of poetry that I did. It was one poem in a book, but um, it was actually something I wrote in high school, and then I wrote a lot back then, and now it's kind of transitioned into writing music and lyrics. But back then I did write a lot of short stories and stuff. So
Hmm.
um, I guess, wanted to get published again just to kind of see if I could do it and sort of challenge myself. Um, there were a lot of things that I submitted to places and then, of course, got rejected, but that's very common as well when you're trying to break into writing and submitting things. Um, but yeah, the poem itself was actually just something I wrote in high school, and I had a very supportive English teacher, and he really encouraged me to, submit to places and stuff. So I did, and then it ended up being published in the 2011 America Library of Poetry. So I was really cool. Um, but yeah, I don't really write that type of thing a lot now because usually my poetry ends up becoming like a song.
Hmm.
And then writing stories is really fun, but it's very time consuming. So it's kind of like I really enjoy being creative in that way, but I kind of just have to like pick and choose what I what I want to do with my time now. So
All right. Um, so you've also done some photography. What made you want to also do photography?
yeah, so that started when I started modeling actually. It was something that I always enjoyed doing, but like I never had a good camera, like I never had the equipment. So I started working with photographers through modeling. So that was really only a few years ago. Um, and I just really liked it, and I really liked learning about what they were using, like for gear, and learning about like lighting, how light, even just like the physics of how light works and stuff like that. Um, so I bought a camera. When I graduated college, I got a job that like finally wasn't minimum wage, so I was able to buy a camera, and I bought a couple lenses for it. Um, and I just started shooting. I mostly started shooting bands because that was just like a good opportunity. I was already around a lot of bands anyway, and it was a good way to practice because in venues it's really dark, so it's a
Hmm.
challenge.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of light coming in, so it teaches you a lot too because your subject is moving a lot on stage. So it definitely helped me learn really fast how to actually do photography. And then because I knew some bands already, I ended up getting paid to do it professionally for a couple of bands too. So that was pretty cool. Um, I haven't done it in a while,
Hmm.
but I do still do that. So if bands want a photographer to shoot their set, I can definitely do that. But yeah, for me, that's more for fun. It's really nice to know I can make some money from it though. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, really fun.
Who were some of the bands that you took pictures of?
Um, the biggest band that I've shot is Halestorm.
Ooh.
They didn't like pay me though or anything.
Mhm.
I got a pass from their PR company to shoot their show. Um, Let me think about paid gigs. There's a lot of like local bands in the Providence scene in Rhode Island that have paid me to shoot their set. I shot a few festivals in Providence too.
Mhm.
But the Hailstorm show was really, really fun. They had like a decent amount of security too. So that was like very new for me because like when you're photographing a stadium show, you're like in the pit in the front. And then they have like security at each end to make sure people don't like go over the barricade and stuff. So then as soon as
Yeah.
you're done shooting, they have to like escort you around the whole stadium, like out. So that was interesting, and it was very chaotic because there's like so many lights like everywhere and so many things going on. But it was a cool experience.
That's cool. So you're a vocalist in the band Mimesis. The kind of music y'all make is like progressive, gent, goth metal type stuff.
Mhm.
Um, it's really good. I like it. The first EP, what was the name of the EP that you guys just put out?
Yeah, it's self-titled, so it's just
Self-titled, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. It's on Apple Music and Spotify, correct?
yep.
Yeah. Um, so what made you want to become a singer?
So I've been singing for crowds since I was 4. Um, I think the first time it was like a public performance was for my preschool graduation.
Mm,
Um, I don't remember most of it, but that's what I know. Um, and I just kind of grew up doing like musical theater and school plays, and um, school choirs and things like that. It was just something that I knew I really enjoyed doing from a young age. And then I started writing music, like just writing lyrics to sing when I was maybe like 9 or so. And, they were terrible because I was like 9. Um, but I was really into like Avril Lavigne, Kelly Clarkson, um, those people definitely. I bought like all their albums. I remember buying like the first Christina Aguilera album, I think that she ever did, and like the first Britney Spears album when I was a little kid. So it was just I was always really into music. My mom was always into music too, so that helped cultivate that also. Um, a few of my aunts are music teachers. They play flute and piano. Um, so I ended up taking piano lessons too from a young age. But I feel like I've always really enjoyed singing because I think it's more um, personal, like it because you're the instrument. So it's a very physical thing to do. So it feels like I don't know, like very emotional or spiritual. I think because it's like coming directly from you. So I don't know. It's just always resonated with me a lot more than playing an instrument. But it's just something I felt like I naturally gravitated toward.
Okay. Who are some of your biggest influences as a singer?
Yeah, definitely early on, Kelly Clarkson, Avril Lavigne. Um, as I got older, I got more interested in like rock music, like heavier music, a little bit closer to like what my band sounds um,
Hmm.
and kind of like more gothic bands. So like Marilyn Manson, um, not necessarily for vocals, but just like the way he approaches his
Hmm.
whole career, like his visuals, his music videos. He's always been a very interesting person. Um, and I think that's really important in today's industry too, to be very, interesting and to not really keep doing the same exact thing all the time. Um, who else? Uh, there's so many, and I'm just like drawing a blank. um, I used to listen to like a lot of different stuff though. Like I loved the Black Eyed Peas, like their earlier albums. Um, one of my favorite bands right now is a metal band called Ne Obliviscaris,
Hmm.
and they have like very cinematic style songs in some ways, and the one of the singers also plays violin, and I really like the strings being used in metal as well. So I listen to a lot of different things. I listen to a lot of like heavier stuff. um, I listen to pop, I listen to metal, hip hop. um, I really like weird like indie doom pop, if that makes sense. It's kind of like electronic music that's like doomy, like very moody and
Hmm.
melancholy. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff. I don't think it helps any songwriter to not listen to certain things. I know there's some people that are kind of elitist about it, and they
Hmm.
um, like I don't know if like how familiar you are with metal, but there's a lot of people in the community that unfortunately are very elitist and will say like, oh, well, I don't listen to anything that's not metal, but it's like that doesn't help you if you're trying
Yeah.
to make music. Um, you don't, you shouldn't really make something that sounds exactly like everything else. So yeah, I definitely try to look for new music a lot and listen to things, especially that sound pretty different than what I would expect. So I hope that answers your question, but in general, I'm influenced by pretty much anything I hear.
Okay, cool. Do you like bands like Lacuna Coil
Yes,
or
I do.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. What about Within Temptation?
Yes, I really like their new album too. They
I
have
mean,
some good videos for that.
yeah. And In This Moment, I believe you didn't you do a cover of the song "The Fighter" by In This Moment? It
Yes,
was
I
really
did. That was like I think my first YouTube cover.
hmm
I was just like figuring out how to use a camera for video. Yeah, I sometimes do YouTube covers. That one was kind of that was older, so I feel like I didn't really know what I was doing. But yeah, I love them. I've seen them live before, and I think Maria's voice is very unique because she can do
yeah.
like awesome like guttural screams and then just I don't know, her voice is so strong and then she can come out of it and do this like really high like feminine sounding thing and yeah, I really like her. I think she's very talented.
Yeah, she's great. I really like In This Moment. I'll be seeing them in concert in a few months too,
That
with
was cool.
Black Rides. So yeah, really great. Yeah. Um, so I believe you also have a solo album in the works. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that one, it's probably going to be released in late 2020, but I'll probably release a single first. I'm working with a really cool producer, actually. I haven't like officially said anything, but it's someone who works in the band Vista. I don't know if you've heard of them,
hmm
but they're New York based and they're kind of like an alternative pop band. Um, and they're really really cool. So I'm happy to be working with him. Um, so far, we're working on 2 songs, but there's going to be a lot more to come after those 2, and it's going to be kind of like it's kind of hard to explain. Sort of like Chelsea Wolfe, a little bit of In This Moment. Um, so definitely rock, but I also want some songs that are a little more cinematic, kind of like dynamic, very emotional. Um, so it is going to be pretty different from what I've done before. Most of the bands that I've been in before have been heavier. Um, I was in a previous band called Blind Revision, and that was more like alternative rock with like a little bit of progressive influences.
hmm
Um, it is going to sound very different from Mimesis. It's not really going to be progressive. I'm just going to kind of go back to my roots and do a lot more things vocally and focus more on lyrics and stuff like that. But I do have a music video also in the works that I'm really excited about. We might actually film in like a big Victorian house, so that'll be
Okay.
cool. Mhm.
That'd be cool. I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and doing this interview with me. Where can we find you on social media and on the internet?
Sure. So you can find me at facebook.com/Jen Janet Music. For Instagram and Twitter, it's just at Jen Janet Music, and my website is jenjanet.com.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.